What's going on, everyone? I hope you had a great weekend, and I hope you saw Black Panther. It was a great movie. Now, before I get started with this particular review, if you have not watched the film, pause the video, save it, come back to it another time after you saw the video, and then you can engage this. Before I also get started, I need to address two different groups of people. We had people that want to focus on the financial aspect of the movie, not about how much is made, but they say, oh, well, white people's going to make all this money off a movie. Well, let's just talk about that for a minute. We live in a country where black people own less than 1% of the total wealth of this country, and we know that's due to slavery. Why we don't own anything. Now, most of you who's talking about white people gonna make money off of this, well, if I go in your room and in your closet, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna find designer clothes, shoes, or anything else that's made by white companies. It's not gonna be all black owned. Everything that you have, I can go check your bathroom closet. Let's say if you do have some products that's made by black people, you're still gonna find things in there that's made by white people, and white people will be making money off of that. If you have a Facebook account, an Instagram account, if you have a Twitter account, you have a Snapchat, you have whatever, that's all white people, and they're benefiting off of your use of that. If you're using your lights, white people getting benefit off of that because they run the light companies. I mean, if we're going to start the white people making money argument, you're not going to really win that argument if you're going to think that. We had another group of people that did a petition saying that, well, Black Panther needs to donate 25% of the proceeds to the black community. Who does that? I'm just saying, and the community did not put up $50 million at least for the making of this movie. Now, if we did and we signed a contract with them saying that we're going to get 25% of the proceeds, that's different. But we didn't put the money up. So I don't know, like, where we get that from. I mean, no other community comes out saying that. I mean, come on, we got to think a little bit more than what we're doing, guys. And then the last group of people, some would say, well, I don't like that all these black people getting dashikis and talking about Africa just because of this movie. Well, look at it from another aspect. People who probably never spoke about Africa before, now they're talking about it because of this movie. Is it a fad for some people? It could be. But then some people probably get so intrigued to start researching African history. Some people may get their passport and actually want to go over there. Some of them may like it. Some of them actually may say, forget this, I'm going to move over there and build myself up over there. You never know. You can't just say a movie is something that is insignificant. If you remember the movie back in the early 1900s, Birth of a Nation, where they focused on the Ku Klux Klan, and the Ku Klux Klan was made to look like heroes in that movie, and it sparked people to rejoin the Ku Klux Klan, and the Ku Klux Klan started terrorizing black folks, and that movie sparked a lot of that. So movies can spark people to do different things, especially the messages that's in it. Now, I've done a video on my Patreon page speaking about the dog whistles of Black Panther. Check that out on Patreon. I'm not doing the dog whistle video publicly because I just personally think that I have too many ears on this channel, and I'm sure some of them still can go over there and see it, but not all of them will. So I'd rather keep that video on Patreon. You can go check it out if you like to. But outside of the people that we address, let's talk about the 10 things that I enjoyed about Black Panther. Number 1, Wakanda. I enjoyed that Wakanda was a place of peace without outside influence. They were left alone. That's a good thing. Now, we do have at least one African nation that wasn't colonized by Europeans. That was Ethiopia. So Ethiopia is one of those nations that wasn't colonized, for instance, but they still had to fight. They just wasn't completely left alone, the Ethiopians, if you research the history of that. We focused on things like Black Wall Street, Rosewood. What if those areas was left alone and allowed to flourish and grow? Remember, we had towns that we built, not neighborhoods, towns. We were gentrified in the hood. We were gentrified to certain neighborhoods. It wasn't that we created it that way, if you know the history of this country. But what if Black Wall Street was allowed to still be in existence to this day. What if Rosewood was still here and all the many other black towns that was built? That's what this movie is kind of speaking about, at least Wakanda. Wakanda is just it's definitely a fictional place, but it's the what if we were left the hell alone. The second thing that I enjoyed about this movie was the Afrofuturism. Now, I believe that is going to be a new genre out there, and I really would like to see more and more movies come out with that. I know a lot of people outside of Marvel has looked at the success of this film and looking at the money rolling in. And I know, we know how people are in this country, capitalistic society. They are going to say, we need to make our own version of this, or we need to make some sort of Afrofuturism show. I saw one person make a comment about Tyler Perry. They said, watch Tyler Perry going to make a Medea Goes to Africa. And I thought that was funny because actually I could see that happening. But you probably going to see coming down the line a lot of movies talking about Africa. So don't be surprised because they're looking at the success of that. And I would say to all of us, go support those films. The more money they make, the more films you will see. That's just the way they operate in a capitalistic society. The third thing I enjoyed was dark-skinned black women finally had a chance to shine on a major way. I love that because we see in Hollywood that they're always picking the lighter skin, and nothing against our lighter skinned sisters at all, but I was picking the lighter skinned sister or the biracial black woman. That's what they like to pick. But this one featured dark skinned black women in awesome roles, smart fighters. I mean, it was just great to see that. And I'm glad that they definitely had a chance to shine in this film because they never get a chance to shine. They wasn't playing no stereotypical role. They wasn't, nasty attitude, loud mouth, all that, the stereotypical things. No, it was something that other little dark-skinned black girls can look at and say, hey, that's a representation of myself on film in a great way. So, that is something I really paid attention to, and I'm glad that we got to see that in this film. Now, the fourth thing I like is a great cast and director. They picked a good group of people to work with this film. The director was so respectful of Africa and African traditions that he constantly was asking the people, is this going to offend African people? Is this right? Or is this wrong? And he consulted them the whole way through. So what you see a lot of in that film is African traditions. And there are many things that's been coming out about the symbolism in this movie, what tribes was linked to, different things that you saw. So it was just great that they did this. The fifth thing for me, which was good, was King T'Challa. Now, we know that the white supremacist terrorists have this meme. They're always saying, we was kings. And I'm glad they actually put this movie out. And I love the commercials that kept saying, long live the king and king and king. I love they kept saying that because now the white supremacist terrorists, what they're saying now, oh, this is a We Was Kings, the movie. And I'm just like, y'all the one kept speaking that to existence. Y'all prophesied that, I guess, for us. So, I mean, I appreciate the terrorists for always talking about we was kings because, it's history. We were kings and queens. Not all of us, but a lot of us were. And I don't know why they even focus on that. I mean, if you keep putting it out in the atmosphere, maybe black people realize, you know what? Yeah, we do come from a royal lineage of people. We're not no savages. We didn't come out of no caves. We actually had more sense than that. They tried to talk about us saying, oh, we was in the jungle. I mean, some of us were, but not all of us was in the jungle. But at least those people had more sense than being in a dark, cold cave with a dog. So don't even go there. But I like that King T'Challa, he was respectful, carried himself well, and represented his people. That is something that's admirable, and that's something we all should strive for. I also like that they push for respect for the ancestors. And, we have a lot of people that has went on with the ancestors, like for instance, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. And we have to look at all the great things that this sister put out and think about the things that she tried to teach us, or people like Dick Gregory that passed away. We have to think about all the different things that he's put out and try to help us with. And we look up to our ancestors. We never speak ill of them. I don't care what they did when they was here. No one's perfect. You're not perfect. You done something wrong. Everybody done something wrong, or we're not proud of, or whatever. But we always should look to our ancestors as much as possible for some things that they have stated, already to guide us. Because when a person writes a book or put out these videos, and you still can pull them up on YouTube, that's them still speaking to you to this day. In book form or video form. Number 7, I agree and I love the extreme Afrocentric theme. Many of us, especially African Americans, are so removed from Africa. So for us to have this theme, it scares the terrorists. Trust me, it scares them. They don't want you having an Afrocentric theme, or they don't want you even speaking Afrocentric, because they know the day that at least 80% of us will become more Afrocentric, they know they're done, because they can't control you anymore at that point. Their words don't mean nothing. Their actions doesn't mean anything. You're controlling your own destiny at that point. So if we could become more Afrocentric like we saw in this movie, if we could research more into Africa, if we could fall in love with who we really are, then they're done. Because the only reason white supremacy stayed in existence is because us as black people, they taught us to hate Africa. They taught us to hate ourselves. And the moment we start loving ourselves and we love Africa and love who we are, what white supremacy going to do? It's built off of your oppression. It's built off of your self-hatred. And that's the only thing that really keep them together. If they didn't have black people to hate on, they wouldn't exist. Because you study their history, they hate each other. They were killing off each other in Europe. That's the only thing that's kind of holding them back a little bit at times, is the hatred for you. And if you wasn't around, then here we go. The Dark Ages will come back all over again. I mean, we saw what happened in Parkland, Florida. They killing up each other, and they still don't want to help each other. So, I mean, we see this over and over and over. But Afrocentric people in our community, and shout out to them, I see more and more of that rising. And this movie definitely put out a good message for that. Number 8, for me, black Americans are being introduced to the idea of Africa. Because some of us, like I said, we're so removed from it, we haven't even thought about it. And this movie just really puts it in our lap. Now, Killmonger, he represented the angry, woke black American. And he really wasn't a villain to me. He was not a villain. He understood what the oppressor has done to us. And he felt that he wants his people free. So that's not being a villain, wanting your people free. Who would want people to be oppressed? Who would want people to be treated less than, to be discriminated against? Who wants that? I mean, no one in their right mind would want that, especially for their own people. And Killmonger was also upset with Wakanda that they had the resources to help free black people, and that they didn't want to do nothing. They want to keep everything to themselves. So he was pissed off with them too. And that also can relate to, we have people in our community who have immense resources, and yet they don't want to help their brothers and sisters, and they wouldn't even get broke helping out. You know, he also talked about how he wanted to help free the people, but he also didn't want them to ever get put in a position to be oppressed again. And he wanted a global Wakanda, where they all the black people come underneath that. So not only, like I say, he was an angry, woke black American, but he wanted basically a global Pan-Africanism. So he couldn't be too evil to me wanting that. But he wanted to do it. That was the issue. But he wasn't a villain. He was not the villain of the story. And the last thing I enjoyed, that it had minimal profane language, no nudity, and they didn't have disrespect for women. And we see that a lot in films, all this profanity, nudity, saying, bees and, calling women the disrespectful names. You didn't see that at all in this film, which I really enjoyed. It didn't have a lot of gore or none of that. So that was just great, because you can make a great film without all of that. It's like we see enough of that mess in films. Why do we have to see it over and over and over and over? So this movie was so great for that. Like I said, I enjoyed this movie. I really did. Yeah, I know that Marvel already said they want another one. Of course they want another one. Shoot, Thursday showing just in the evening made them $25 million. So, yeah, they say right now, at least last time I read, it's close to pushing $200 million just for the weekend alone. That's big. That is very, very big. So, like I say, shout out to definitely Marvel for doing that, because the Hollywood myth has been you can't put that much money into a black movie because it won't sell overseas. Well, this movie has proved that's a doggone lie. So you can definitely sell black films overseas, or with a predominantly black cast. They use all kind of lies to try to keep us from being employed in Hollywood, or to keep the lie going for white supremacy. And once again, being a capitalist society, they see all the money that's being made. Trust me, you're going to see that Cyborg movie come out from DC. They're going to push that. Don't be surprised if eventually a Black Lightning movie come out. I mean, it's about to start coming out. Trust me. And I'm going to tell all y'all, support them all, so we can continue to see proper representation, because it's important. Because propaganda that's out there that's against us is not good. So anything that can show us in a positive light can also transcend to positive things within our community. So